All right, got a bunch of stuff, very interesting stuff today. Oops, I wasn't recognizing we wouldn't have a big crowd, but what the heck, you're all good enough. Before I get into anything deep or big, anybody come with questions, concerns, wonderings? Yes, sir.
I did. I've got I took all these specs down last night. A Mac Mini 2010, 2.4 gig speed. And since I loaded that El Capitan, what is it, 10.11.1, my system is slow. Now is this, should I be reading between the lines and look to ramp up on a new system that's newer, faster? Would that solve my problem, or is everyone else experiencing the slow speed as well?
You went to El Capitan, and then you're wondering if a newer, different operating system would be better?
Hardware.
Hardware, okay. Okay, and what year is the hardware?
It's mid-2010.
Okay.
It's a 2.4
Okay,
gig.
That's 5 years
okay,
old.
that's fine. Yeah, right, mid 2010 is 5 years old, but okay, so what, big deal. I'm going to first look at, what, were you using it prior to taking it to El Capitan?
Yeah, sure. I've
Okay.
been using it since forever.
And it was, the speed was just fine?
It was, but now it's not even that I'm exercising or launching a program. I just randomly get the ball and it sits there and spins, and I gotta wait because everything's stopped until that clears.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I said, was it happening before, because often, many of the speed issues that we see are typically self-induced. Not enough hard drive space or stuff like that.
I'm using less than 50%.
Okay, so you're good on that kind of stuff. You know, to be honest, I haven't really seen personally degradation of speed based upon a new operating system.
Could it have brought something in that says, okay, when you boot, launch this? Could this be holding me down? And if so, where do I go to inspect to see if that's true?
Well, first thing I would do is Google, problems with El Capitan, question mark.
Okay.
Google that. That's what I would do, because I have found everything in the world available through Google.
Sure.
And it just depends. If that doesn't give you something, change your wording around. There's a whole deal on how to use the search window, the little search window where you type the words in.
Command F.
There's arrangement deals. There's parentheses and quotes and all that jazz.
Oh, that's criteria on searches.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, that's my first place to go.
Sure, I'll check that out.
Because people, if they're having problems, they love to go there, find out, or tell other people, hey, watch out, I've got this thing, and you might even put in there on Mac Mini.
Okay.
Robert,
Yeah, yep.
I will not interrupt you.
That's fine, that's good. I was just going to be trying to make it a little bit simpler, but maybe that'll help.
Oh, and a secondary, if I was to buy a new hardware, what do you think of Power Max? I found,
Power Mac?
yeah,
Well,
MAX.
I have a Power Mac.
Power Max.
MAX.
MAX? Where would
I
you
saw it
get that?
advertised on Everything Mac, Mac Everything, you know, where you look up the serial number.
Not Power Max. Oh, wait.
Mac
The
Pro?
Power Max, the store.
Yes.
Oh, because I always thought he was talking about the Power Max, the clone.
Right, yep.
Power Max has been around for quite a while. The first thing you want to do is go to Apple's website and go to the main page
Sure.
and go down to the bottom, and the second column from the left is refurbished. Full 1-year warranty, you can buy Apple Care for it and all that stuff. So it's no different than walking in a store and buying one, and it's been fully tested and checked. I would go there first and see what they have. And it changes hourly.
I saw something rather disturbing as I scrolled through these different Mac Mini, or Mini Mac is what I want to prefer to stay with. I like the size.
Oh, yeah, I
the
wish
speed.
I had one, because I got the Mac Pro tower. Takes up so damn much space.
And the RAM is like a minimum. It's 4 gigs, and these machines can take 8 and 16, no problem.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a getcha or gotcha on the back end. If
Gotcha.
you want to ask for more memory,
Hey, Chief.
oh yeah. They can charge you
Check
money
in,
when it-
would you? Bob Curtis.
How you doing?
All right, I'm gonna jump back in a little bit, but before this passes, I've loaded a Drobo dashboard, which is an application that is used with the Drobo device. There's a Drobo device up here, and as often happens, you'll run something and say there's a new upgrade and a new version of the software. So I said, yeah, go ahead and do it. So it's going to load a new version of software. Anyways, okay, I'm not hearing a clamoring of other issues, so I wanted to not go too far without talking about getting into where we're going, because it's interesting for many reasons. The subject of today is going to be talking about RAID drives. And prior to OACC 10, Apple had within the disk utility program the ability for you to create a software RAID. A RAID is the use of more than one hard drive so that you have more space and or more security for loss of a failure of a drive and or more speed. And you can accomplish either more speed or more security through failed hard drives, or actually a combination of both of them together. And over time, we collect more stuff. We don't tend to throw out our old stuff. Why? We've got pictures from whenever back, and over time, we have more stuff. And just because we have new pictures, we don't throw out our old pictures, so we have more stuff. We also find that hard drives are getting bigger, which means, okay, we can store more stuff. We find hard drives are getting cheaper, so we can not have any real, no motivation to get rid of old stuff. So larger hard drives, smaller cost, more stuff. It becomes more and more a part of our life that a RAID or using multiple drives together to have more places to store stuff makes some sense. And maybe we've done that kind of like on our own of sorts. We have plugged in multiple hard drives to our computer. If you have one or two or more external hard drives and all that, well, that's fine. And we can have this one for photos and this one for music and this one for that. But after a period of time, you've got all this stuff, and now it's kind of like, wow, if that drive went out that has all my music, I'm SOL, because all my music's there, all my photos are there, or whatever else. So the organization is fine, and I bought it 5 years ago, it's still running. Why should I worry about it? Well, because it's 5 years old, and hard drives are wearing out much more often today than they used to before. So we have to recognize that hard drives are going to fail. The reason why they're cheap is because people buy the cheap version if there's two. If there's two versions, you buy the cheaper one. So manufacturers realize this, so their quality goes lower and lower because they're trying to hit a price point rather than a quality level. If you want to pay more money, you get a drive with a higher reliability, but no one does it, except if you're in business and running a server or that kind of thing. So anyways, so what we're talking about is not having a drive that's plugged in with our music and a drive for photos and all that kind of stuff. What we're talking about is taking a collection of these drives, maybe that are sitting on our desktop, and using software to make them all appear like one big drive. Such that this RAID, when you get another one, you can just plug it in and you have one big drive. And the advantage of that is that you don't have to have this music drive that's only 50% full, where this other photo drive is 80% full, and maybe it's too full. Maybe it's a 500 gig or whatever it is, and now it's full. Now you just need more space for photos. So you get a whole other drive again. The management of that kind of thing is just not pretty. So, go ahead.
I had a deal where I'm working on people's computers and I have like 100 gig hard drive in a case, and it's the little ones. And basically it's gotten to the point where now I have a bin box and they're all stored, and then as I need one, I erase it and then start for recovery. And you end up with a bunch of shit, pardon my
Okay.
French.
So what we've got is when we have two hard drives.
An artist you stop.
There we go.
Turn the lights on.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
Can't see.
can't see.
Can't see a thing,
Are
okay.
both switches on over
Let me
there?
see if I can come up with a darker color. Maybe
Yes.
that's not bad.
Maybe a blue.
That's not really any better.
It's dry.
That's right, yeah, okay. That's not real wet. One more, and then my idea is going to fail. Yes, that was no better
There's
again.
plenty of it. Oh, maybe not. They're on. Both on?
Red one's about as good as it gets.
You must have a secret one somewhere.
Well,
There must be somewhere.
Near the front somewhere.
these are all dry. You, Steve, you don't have to.
I brought you the laser pointer.
Yeah, okay, all right, yep, you did your job, okay. Anyways, okay, I can give you some imagination. Boy, it just disappears, okay. Ugly, ugly, ugly.
They usually use the computers.
That's fine, yeah. No,
Hey,
no,
hey,
right.
Robert,
Yeah.
don't you have a drawing program?
Yeah, I do, sure, of course I do. Okay,
Sometimes we have to go back to the damn computer.
yeah.
Heaven
4 steps
forbid.
forward and 12 steps back.
Okay, so anyways, through software, we have, imagine 2 hard drives. And if you wanted, and it is much quicker in the computer world as in the physical world, or virtual world, to say to do something than it is to do it. You know, dig a ditch 2 feet by 3 foot by 6 feet, 100 feet long. Said all you need to know, so take a while to do it. Same thing in the computer age. I can say to a hard drive, write this file. And as quick as the computer can say that to the drive, it's going to take more time to write that file, to copy that file. You sitting there waiting for things to go ahead and get done, and you sit there and wait and wait and wait, and finally it happens. Okay, so it takes time to write to a file, to a hard drive. Well, you can imagine that if you had 2 hard drives, and you said write this half of the file to you, and this half of the file to you, you're going to get the job done twice as fast, because you've got 2 streams being written to the hard drive, and the hard drive can only write at a certain speed. And so, if you have 4 hard drives, you can take the amount of time it takes to do things and divide it by 4. Okay.
It's like we used to have way back on the Apple II days. We had serial, and we had parallel.
Right.
And what happens is the drives we have now are SATAs, and that's a serial. The previous one, the IDE, was parallel. But the technology was older, so it just made it worse, you know, more difficult. And what Robert's saying is, by taking like this and then splitting it multiple times, it can go at this faster because it's taking it all side by side.
But when someone says what Robert's saying is, I feel like I'm speaking in French and he's interpreting it for me, because the audience doesn't understand my French.
God.
He's the explainer in chief.
Apparently.
Gotta hear him when you leave.
You know, it's a dirty job, but he feels he has to do it. Okay. Anyways, that's fine. I'm interested in this install, which I kind of wanted to share with you, but I decided I would, in hindsight, perhaps it wasn't the best thing. It's forcing me to restart my computer.
Yeah.
So in doing that, what I have found is Google Chrome, I'm going to force quit it, because when it restarts, it'll say, hey, I was forced quit. Do you want me to reload? And it'll reload more accurately than if it had force quit on its own. So that's just a little trick. Anyways, we're gonna let that continue. Okay, so we've recognized if we add more hard drives, virtually or in reality, to our RAID, we can write faster. But now what we've done is every time we do that, we increase the potential for data loss. You write against 2, one of the 2 fails, you're out of luck. One of the 10, you're 10 times as likely to be, in a hole. Okay, so there's a kind of a problem with what we call striping, where we write 2 places at the same time. Okay, so now there's also something called mirroring, which means write it over here and write it over here. At the same thing, all of file 1, all of file 1. Well, that's great, that's mirroring, because what that means is that one drive could go out and the other drive could just keep right on going and you're good to go, and your RAID says, hey, drive 2 has failed, and so you go and replace drive 2, and drive 1 copies over to drive 2, and now you have 2 drives again, and you keep plowing down. Okay, so what you've done is you've increased your reliability, but you haven't done anything for speed. In fact, maybe you've decreased the speed because while the computer is doing stuff, it can write it to 1 just as quick as before. But then now that it's written it all to 1, now it has to say, okay, in the background, it's copying it over to drive 2. Well, if the computer's taking up time to do that, it may be time that you could use. Okay, so mirroring increases reliability, does not increase speed, and actually can decrease speed. Okay, I'm going to go back to this thing because I'm really anxious to go to this to show you something here. That is.
Oh, here, so.
Yeah, what do you got? Got another one? A new one? Give me up the stuff, huh?
Mhm.
Is this a white erase? Drive X, yes it is. Okay. Oh God.
Thanks for your help tossing in the trash.
Yeah, take in the trash.
Yeah.
That's what I finally figured out.
Here's another.
No, I kind of like this one. It's
Okay.
kind of better than the last one.
There's green though. That's
Yeah,
better.
that's fine.
Do you want to restart?
Now, as we know, can you see the 1s and 0s on that?
Yeah.
I imagine you can.
Okay.
Everything else can be restarted since
That's
I.
good.
Okay.
Here, I tested.
Now, say this is the file that everything is 1s and 0s on computers. So say this is file 1. Or drive, drive 1, excuse me. And this is drive 2. And we're doing this, we are now, we're striping these 2, driving file A is going over to drive 1, part A of the file, and part B is going to drive 2, okay? So now, what we have is we have this world called parity. And parity means that we're going to have something else to check our work. Now, if we were dealing with even parity, we're going to want things even. So we see a 1 and a 0, that's odd, so we add a 1. A 1 and a 1, that's already even, so we're not going to do anything. A 0 and a 0, that's already even, we don't have to do anything. And a 1 and a 0, that's odd, so we have to add 1 to make it even. What this now says is, if we put a third drive in there, when we write drive 1, and then we write drive 2, we can then calculate and put on drive 3 this. And what that means is, we can now lose any one of those 3 drives. It fails, that says it's bad, we can take that drive out and put a new drive in and get back all of our stuff again. Do you see that? Because if this one goes away, well, we know what belongs on there. 1 and 1 is 1, so that has to be a 0. 0 and 1 is odd, so that has to be a 1. So by having 3 drives, we can back up 2 drives. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So that's called parity. So if you have a 3rd drive, you can have security over this striping thing. Very cool. As long as you're okay with having only one of 3 drives go bad, you can have both speed and a bit of security for losing a drive that you didn't have if you just striped. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And now, cancel, save. Here's an older version of a program that isn't quite
Oh, panorama?
panorama. Yeah, it's
Oh,
just won't go away.
that was a great
Yeah,
program.
it still is a good program. Okay. Okay, so that's what if you go from 2 to 3. Now, mathematically, this is a trick to see how you can actually, with one drive, increase the reliability of backing up, lose 1 and still get it back. Lose any 1 and still get it back. Okay, mathematically, there's something that's way more complex that I even begin to understand, where you could actually, by having a second I4, that you could write something to a 4th drive that makes it such that if you have other drives, you can lose 2 of your drives and get it back. Mathematically, this even odd thing doesn't work anymore because you wouldn't know which one.
Right.
But with a bit of other mathematics, you can actually lose 2 drives at the same time. And so that's advanced beyond typical. Because within the world of RAID, we have RAID 0, which is that striping thing. Really fast, no reliability if you lose a drive. You have RAID 1, which is mirroring. Everybody's got that already, where you got 2 drives, you write it here and you write it there, and you have a backup as you might think of. That's RAID 1. And then you have what you call RAID 5, which is this parity thing. And then you have RAID 10. They take the 1, the 0 for speed, and the 1 for fast. You combine them together, and you have what we would call RAID 10. And that's where you're using 4 drives, and you're okay, because here's these 2 are being written striped, and then alongside of each of those, you're mirroring it. Okay? So you've got both speed, and you've got safe, and you can lose 2 drives as long as they're not the same 2 drives on each side. So, you know, we're getting better, but we're not perfect. Okay. So, now, all of this stuff is way more complicated than the average person wants to understand or learn about. So, then what we call is upon other companies such as Drobo, who takes the complication of RAID and makes it easy. Because what we want to do is we just want to plug it in and we just want it to work. So they have their own version of RAID, which gets over many weaknesses of the typical RAID. In the typical RAID, if you have a 500 gigabyte drive and a 1 terabyte drive, a typical RAID says, I'm going to only deal with the smallest version. Whatever the smallest of what your hard drives is, that's as good as you're going to go. Because when I have to take this and mirror it, I can mirror the 500, but I can't take your gig and mirror it.
No.
Change is as strong as the weakest link. So in a normal RAID, you know, you go by, you have a terabyte drive, whatever it is, and now a 2 terabyte drive comes out. Well, fine, you can have a 2 drive RAID, but it's only going to be as good as the 1 is. So every time a new drive comes out, all of those other drives that are smaller are thrown away in our trash. not very handy. So that kind of thing is an issue. With Drobo, that's not an issue, because it has the intelligence within it, almost basically a computer within the box, that allows it to take multiple size drives and put them all together. And whatever size you got, you slap that drive in there, and now it will work and use that drive as effectively as it can to enlarge your space. And so you don't get the, you always, as we've seen, when you're having a RAID, some of the places stored for data, and some of the space is being used for backup, if you will, other than the drive zero, the RAID 0. So it's just a kind of important there to understand that when you're adding these things up, you now don't get an additional 250 gigabytes of space to use for data, because some of that space has to be used for backing up of it and all of that. And when the information is being written, it's, when you write a file, it's writing it and putting it in on multiple drives. And that's kind of like what gives us the benefit of the of RAID as well, the security. You see this thing going around and around, I guess I'll just have patience on that. But anyway, so here we are, we have a Drobo drive, and I didn't pull off the tape, that's why.
That's the new element.
Huh? And shame on me. Okay. This is just a magnetic front. You just pop on there, and it kind of, you know, does that. It's just showing the lights through the front. And right now I have 3 lights, 3 drives, because that's the minimum amount. Unless you're going for drives RAID 0, you really do want. I know that. Go away. One of the better apps or utilities is still not available, so I'll kind of give up on that.
Is there different connections you connect to the computer? Like
For the RAID? For the Drobo?
Or Thunderbolt, or,
Yeah, what's
and
your,
does
Okay,
that make a huge difference?
Oh, they started out with just a USB, and then they went to, oh, you want an Ethernet, which is to basically put it on your network.
Yeah.
You had another little device there. Then they grew up and they became more capable and have Ethernet and USB together. And then they had iSCSI, and then they now have Thunderbolt. So, which is an interesting question, because you have speed issues. When you're using drives outside of the box, you need to deal with speed and how fast is the transfer. USB 3 is pretty darn fast. Ethernet's pretty darn fast. iSCSI maybe is just a little even faster. But yeah, that's an important issue there. So I'm gonna
So
see.
is Thunderbolt the fastest?
It is currently the fastest, and it's getting faster again. They're developing newer, faster.
Well, they got 2, now they're coming out with 3.
Right, exactly. So things are continually getting faster. Yes, sir.
when you use this Drobo unit, does it also incorporate your internal hard drive as part of the RAID, or is it a separate entity?
It is a separate collection of drives. It's going to manage those drives. It's designed to be used as a RAID, as a place to store stuff, but it doesn't use the main hard drive. Now, as I was mentioning, we have 3 lights on here because we have 3 hard drives in there, and if I wanted to increase my capacity and I had another hard drive, I could just slip it right in there and have that other one. So this one, so now it is finished and it's loaded up and it's updated itself, etc. I'm going to double click on that, and okay, so now it tells me. I thought I just did that. I'm good for that for now. So now it tells me I have 3 terabyte. Oh, computer's continuing to start up. That's fine. I have 3 terabyte drives in there, and I have 2 of them empty. The health is all good, all that kind of stuff. It's all just fine. Now, if everything else is started up, I'll kind of like leave that alone. Now, if one of these drives had started to go bad, but when it starts to read, when it writes, and then it goes back and reads it, sometimes it's flaky and sometimes it's not, it will come up with a red flag and turn red. If one of them is getting full and it needs to be replaced, it'll start blinking yellow. And if I want, I can pull that out and it will continue to run. Even if all 5 were in there, the computer wouldn't know the difference. It would say, oh, he's lost a drive, he's a bad drive, and it would start moving the stuff amongst the other 2 drives to again create that bit of safety net, provided it had as much, some space left over. But in essence, I won't have lost anything. So I take this out, it's broken, I go down to fries, I get myself a new one, and I stick it back. See the yellow? It says, hold on, I want you to know that I'm rebuilding what's going on these drives because I lost one, so I have to move stuff over. Some of the stuff on one of these drives, I only have on that one drive, and I need to move it over to the other drive because it was on the drive that was in there that failed or that was pulled out. So I go down to fries, I get another one, I put it in, I go, zap. Done all the work it takes, put the cover back on, I'm good to go. It's that easy to add another drive. And as I said, the drives on the Drobo RAID, you can have whatever new size. So a 4 terabyte comes out, you put a 4 terabyte in, and you're good to go. You've enlarged your capacity. So now it says, okay, it's checking, and it says, oh, I found another drive. Thank you very much. Let me push this stuff around so that we're in the order that not only is it safest, not only is it fastest, but it's also, it's also fastest because it has organized it such that you can access it readily. Oh, more of this stuff.
Bob,
Yes.
let's say that you had those 3 drives in the Drobo, and they're all good.
Uh-huh.
If you took one out of the Drobo and you connected it to your computer like an external enclosure, would the computer recognize it as a...
No. The stuff on it is pieces and parts of stuff that are also somewhere else. So half of the file might be on there and a half of the file might be somewhere else.
So the computer would say it's a bad drive?
It would find it's a drive, but it just wouldn't recognize any of the files or folders because there's no table of contents on that drive for its stuff, because it's kind of like it would be saying, well, I have a third of this file and it's stored in these 5 places. I don't know where the other parts are, is what it would do. So now it's rebuilding because I put this in, and it's going to take a few moments and while it gets that. But as you can see, I've got 3 terabyte drives. I got 9 terabytes of stuff, and I've got 2 extras. Yes, sir.
Can you upgrade that box to like a RAID 3 to 4 or 5 by sticking more drives in it?
Well, right now, it's not using RAID 0 or 1 or 5 or 10. It's using a Drobo extended RAID algorithm. And the extended RAID algorithm is what allows it to use different sizes.
Oh, you can vary the drive.
Exactly, which is extremely important in our day and age, because by the time you go and need more space, hey, there's bigger drives.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
So when you buy a 3 or a 5 drive unit or a 10 drive unit or whatever size you use, the reality is kind of like buy for tomorrow. But the reality is, when tomorrow comes, the drives will be bigger anyways, and you just slap one in, and now you're ready for the next 5 years beyond that. So it's really quite awesome and amazing there. The whole kind of technology. But most important is the different size drives, because in a year or two you're going to have. We didn't have 3 terabyte drives 2 years ago. So this kind of stuff just makes it extremely potentially valuable to make things good. Now, so we're now here, we're on a status screen, and we're seeing the capacity, and it's in a warning, because the warning says, hey, we're moving stuff around, and give us a little bit of time, and all of that. Now, another feature in the Drobo is that it also has a built-in battery. such that if you pull the plug and it's in the middle of writing stuff, it's going to have enough time to finish writing all of that stuff and to getting everything straight and everything else. Another item is on the bottom of these drives is a slot for a mini SSD card. To such that it has a place to cache the stuff that you're using a lot of. So when you're reading to go read it from the drive, it gives it to you from the cache first, instead of taking the time it takes to get it from different pieces of different drives, increasing the speed in a significant way. So that's very cool. So we see, I've named the drive, it's the serial number of the box, the health warning of what its data protection is in progress, firmware uptime, blah, 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 hours, and the interface I'm currently using, because I have multiple interfaces available to me there. So we go to the capacity, it kind of shows me how much I've used. This is very valuable because, for instance, one of my clients is a gas station. They have security cameras. Security cameras record video. You've got 16 cameras at a gas station. It's a hell of a lot of video. That stuff is compiling up there like crazy. Normally the security software, it knows to overwrite the older stuff and can you always save this much space for free, but go ahead and overwrite as necessary. Well, it doesn't always happen, and so as your drives fill up, the lights will tell you that something has changed and they've all gone green. So this kind of tells me, what percentage I've used and all that kind of stuff. Shares. This is kind of cool because when you have multiple people in a household or a business or whatever it is, you can create a volume on this drive and say this is for Jim and this is for Mary. And each person on their machine just sees their stuff and doesn't see anybody the other stuff. So you can create a volume on here, and it's a smart virtual volume because you can create it like let's say you have make it simple. Let's say you have a 2 terabyte, a 1 terabyte drive, just for even numbers. But you've got 2 people. You can say to you, Jack, I've got you have 1 terabyte. Mary, you have 1 terabyte. And you're kind of like saying, wait a second, how's that? They both have a terabyte, you only have a terabyte drive. Well, it's going to say to the person they have a terabyte, and they can now move stuff around as if they did, but it'll only really use the amount of space on there for the amount of stuff that the person has to store. So it's often nice to kind of like have a comfortable feeling, but especially if you have like a department in a business of 10 departments, everybody's not going to use everything that is available to them, but they like to be able to at least think they do, and it just gives a safety factor. It's kind of like, goes back earlier when we said we had a music drive that's half full and a photos drive that's, almost all full. Well, you really would like them to be one volume so that you're not running out. So that kind of helps there. So let's see, we've got some tools here. Okay, this is kind of handy. If you had multiple Drobos and you need to figure out which one am I talking to, which hard drive is this? Because on your desktop you've got multiple hard drives and you don't know which of those darn things this darn thing is when you're clicking on it. Well, this is kind of cute. It turns the lights on and off for you there so you can see what's going on. You can check for software updates, all that kind of stuff. Okay, now let's go into the stuff that is actually perhaps even more important than all that. And general, okay. Okay, here's a good one. Dual disk redundancy. If you use that checkbox there, it's going to now use those drives such that you could lose 2 of them. Okay, you can set it such that it's okay if it just loses 1, and you'll have again back to the faster. Or you can say, I'm willing to give up. I want to be safe to have 2 drives fail, which means you're going to have lower capacity but greater redundancy. So if you have 5 drives, they're all large drives, you can check that dual district redundancy and know that you're good to go, because when one drive goes, you may not have another drive on your shelf that you're ready to plop right in there immediately. And it may take a while to go and get another drive, so you want dual disk redundancy. It'll reduce the capacity, increase the reliability. Okay, and that one was that, and if we go there, let's see, so we would cancel from there, go there, network. You know, that's kind of setting it up. That you really don't care much about that after you've done it. Administration. Setting that up again, you really wouldn't do much about it after you've done it. And alerts. Oh, okay, here's a good one. I have these strobos at multiple clients, but I'm not there looking at the lights. And when they look at the lights, they just think it's pretty. So I have it set that when there's a failure or an alert of some type, that it emails me. I get an email saying that client A has got a full drive, has a bad drive, has a whatever it is. And you yourselves might appreciate that text message, that email that's telling you, oh, by the way, but, you know, on your way, stop on your way home to get another drive because, you know, your system's failing or this or that. That's kind of cool for a person that has care for their stuff. And okay, so that's the most important stuff on this that I really. If we go back into tools and we say check for update, I think it said a newer version is up there, and that's fine. Okay, so we're going to do that again. I'm not sure why we would do it again. There's a firmware update, whatever it is. But point is, this is beyond RAID, is what they call it, beyond RAID. That's what Drobo does. There's a couple of companies that do this, and I find them very, very valuable because it has been since hard drives came about because because we had too many floppy drives. We had these floppy drives in these cases. We had cases and cases of floppy drives. Steve remembers those. And so we went to a hard drive. But as soon as we went to a hard drive, they filled up. And so we went to another larger hard drive. And this has been our life since, you know, the last 30 years. So in my world, this has allowed me to protect the most important item that I own. It's not the monitor, it's not the computer, it's not the whatever. It's my data. It's the stuff that I cannot replace. I can't write a check and go back and buy another one of those when it breaks. So the old computer, I don't care about. It's the data that I've got to protect. Yes, sir.
What'd that box
I
cost?
have no idea.
What do you think it costs?
Google it. I don't know. We could Google it, I guess.
Drobo.
Yeah, it's.
You got a computer, just go to Drobo.
Okay, I not only do I not remember, because I don't care. It is what it is, and it, you know.
All the money.
The market sets the price. Market sets the price. You know, when I say that, I mean, you could say, well, how much is that 5-box Ethernet connected, Ethernet, you know, whatever, and that may or may not be the one you want, because there are also 3 drive boxes, and there are ones that only have USB, and there's one that, and it changes. But the reality is, what I want you to understand, and I guess it's all about the math, is after you buy the box, you then buy your hard drives. So you have to add that into the cost. But hard drives are, you know, you can buy a hard drive for $75, $80, kind of like a, you know, really decent drive. And if they're on sale, you know, and you only can only buy the best. When you're buying hard drives, buy the largest you can afford. And if you can only afford 2 of them, buy 2 of them.
You got a Drobo.
And then next month, when you get some more money, you buy another one, and then another one. Don't buy 5 of the smaller versions because you don't need that much right now. Yes, sir.
So you can stick 5 drives in?
You can stick 5 drives in there. That's right. Yeah. There's 3 in there. There's 4. There's 5.
Yeah,
What?
633.
633 for the 5-drive
Professional.
professional. Okay, which means that there's maybe there's a lower one.
But there's a 294 Drobo 4-bay, no drives for 294.
That one is about 500.
This one? Okay.
Do
And
this one.
you get a free recyclable bag to carry it in.
Well, that's such an idea.
Yes, sir.
When you put, if you have two drives that are bad,
Uh-huh.
and you want to replace them, I take it you do it one at a time.
You could,
You can't put both of them at the same
if,
time.
okay, if they failed,
Yeah,
then you might as well take them both out. If they're full, it is better and faster to replace one at a time.
because if each drive has a piece of the information.
Yes.
I can see removing, replacing one,
Uh-huh.
the other information can be,
Okay,
well,
if you have two bad drives that are
Yes.
not working,
yes,
they're not working.
okay,
You can take them out and you ain't gonna harm anything. It tells you which drive is bad.
okay. So there is the algorithm to derive your previous information from your existing working one.
Exactly, exactly. And as I showed you the math, the simple math to do of one drive can protect two drives.
Uh-huh.
If I was to show you the math that allows two drives to be protected, to go out, you would then say, oh, okay, but the math of that is way beyond anything that I can comprehend.
Because I can see if I buy 5 drives at once,
Uh-huh.
3 years or 4 years from now, I can see at least 2 going bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right?
And,
During that time.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
okay. So I.
But usually one at a time.
Okay, all right. The other problem I used to have with the portable external hard drive is that it loses its, what do you call it, mounting ID. The data is still good.
Okay.
And it still works.
Okay.
But the computer does not recognize it because the ID is like gone.
Okay.
And,
That's when you send it over to a place called Drive Saver.
Well, that's a different issue,
Yeah.
but.
yeah,
You pay
Well,
$1,000
but there are
an hour.
utilities to repair that kind of situation.
right.
As ugly as it is. But I get the point is, you could choose to have one drive failure safety or 2 drive failure safety, and on a check of a button, click it. If all of your drives, if it's showing full, and you're don't have those extra bucks and you're on a 2 drive safety fallback, click it down to 1. You know, it gives you another month to get down to fries, whatever it might be.
When you're,
Okay. Yes, sir.
if you have, let's say, your videos and they're on the Drobo,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to back it up
Mm-hmm.
to like I use the Backblaze online,
Mm-hmm.
does the Backblaze see it as one drive with one?
Your online storage opportunities vary considerably. And I say that because not only the way they work changes, but the way they price changes.
Because they say
Some of
unlimited.
them price you, whatever size drive you have on your computer will do for X number of dollars.
Because when I have it says I can back up external drives and no limit.
Okay, see, there we go. See, now you're talking about they put in the extra words of external drives. And if once they go to no limit, it really doesn't matter to them whether this is one box of 5 or five externals. That's just a matter of efficiency and ease on your part. But most of them, not many of them do as many as you want external, because now, you know, Apple Computer can say, hey, we'll take that price, and, you know, boom, boom, they have that many drives.
But would you see it as one drive on the?
Most always, it will be seen as one drive. That's the way that it presents itself. Very few things can look beyond that to see how many that's actually made up of. Yes, sir.
If I want to hook up 2 desktop computers to the Drobo, is it like a network or something?
Well, now what we've talked about a moment ago is the interfaces. Do we use a USB interface, very fast, but it's directly connected to the computer for the fastest type of connectivity, the fastest speed, or do we use the Ethernet port? Now, if we use the Ethernet port, we're on a network. Now it's simply what we call it a NAS, or a network attached storage. And as a NAS, you put on the network, you hook up the other computers to the switch, and they can see it just fine. And that's what I was speaking of. You can create these virtual volumes and one volume for each person, and administratively only give them access to that because that's the only one that they see. So on their sidebar, they see on my sidebar, they would see, you know, just their volume. Myself, I see that Drobo, and it happens to be a 5N, which is 5 for 5 drives and for network, etc. And it's currently still struggling to see that at the moment, but that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that quite yet. But, you know, so, yes.
I have another version of this that's a single drive, and what I've done is it's attached to the network, and I can take and on the network I can go from this computer here, go all the way home over Wi-Fi, and connect to that, and it's got stored all my movies and stuff, and I can then bring that movie and stream it back to this computer to display it, but it's got only one drive. It's blazingly fast because it's just, Ethernet is very fast. But the thing is if anything happens to that, I'm screwed unless I have a backup.
Yeah.
And my son's already done that for me, is he took and we got a 500 gig hard drive and we backed up the whole thing. Probably gonna need a terabyte hard drive someday, but you know, it's the old thing that Robert and I and Greg always say, back up, back up, back up. You can't say it enough.
Now, along these lines of backup, I mean, 3, 5, I could have 15 terabytes of space here. That's a lot of space. That's a lot of movies. That's a lot of whatever. Now, what one could do, better than just, now, let me back up a moment. When things go bad, in this kind of scenario of hard drives and all that kind of stuff, boxes, what we typically have is a power supply goes bad, or your hard drive goes bad. The electronics on there rarely go bad, and the software is what it is. So you could, if the power supply went bad, you just buy another power supply and you're good to go. If the hard drive goes bad, well, that's what the darn thing is. Just pop it out and get a new one, and you're good to go. So you've got your rear end covered pretty well. Except for the reality that, wait a second, what about that backup thing? You know, I trashed that file and I now don't have it anymore. Or wait a second, that I made changes to this thing and I wanted the thing that it was last month because I screwed it up and I removed 2 pages of it and I need the old version with all 5 pages on it. I'll back up again. Well, with this much storage capacity, you could create 2 volumes on this and use a backup program to back up one volume onto another program, onto another one. So you now have multiple backups and 2 or 3 or whatever number of backup sets you want, and every week, and so this volume could be a week ago and this volume could be 2 weeks ago because you have the space for it. And so now you have backups. Backups of a sort. Backups enough that you can get back that document that you trashed. Backup that you can get the version that you had a month ago, all of that kind of thing. Now it doesn't, the one kind of scenario that obviously it doesn't cover is the fire or the theft of your Drobo. So I think it's a relatively quiet device, but you might want to put it in the closet and wire it through such that when they take your computer, they leave the Drobo behind. It's not a bad thing.
Safe with a hole.
What's that?
Well, the safe and then put a hole.
You know, it's quiet again. It's just a wire. Run that wire into the closet, and now no one's going to think to grab it when they grab your computer. My son had the computer was stolen. And, it looks like he's got this big hefty cable around this iMac. Right now, there's like a bicycle thing to his table. Now they have to take the table and the computer. But losing your data again is the most important thing. There is a little lock on here, by the way, that allows you to lock it down to something. So do make use of that.
The speed of those drives is a factor in how fast you can access data like video or graphics.
Well, if you're using the video, the transfer speed is always just fine. If you're wanting to copy the video, now the transfer speed is far more important than read-write.
Yeah.
Because we all know that waiting for things to copy, waiting for that is ugly.
Yeah.
And that's where it's important. And that's where the software algorithms that they use is very important. Do they store things efficiently? Or do they store them inefficiently? And I think it's pretty good. It could be better, but I think it's pretty good.
And that pertains to my question. So drives fail, you put new drives in. I have two questions. One is, does it have the intelligence to free up that data that it had copied over between, you know, the failure and the new drive? And my second question is, I assume it has the intelligence to format the drive, so right out of the box and into the Drobo.
Absolutely, absolutely. It did. Pull it out of the shelf, doesn't matter what was on there. It says, hey, are you sure you want to, add this to the set? Because you're going to lose whatever's on there. And so you say yes, and bingo, it formats it and writes it in the format that it needs and copies it in the most efficient manner such that you're up and going and you are multi-disc safe and all that kind of stuff. And the other part, yes, it is very efficient with regard to usage and allowing for space to be reclaimed and all that kind of stuff. Constantly juggling stuff out there such that you are most covered and most able to transfer information quickly. So I'm quite, so what I was saying a moment ago, we can go back to it, was the backup thing. None of this precludes offline backup. So, offline backup is very slow, but it's relatively inexpensive. And since a fire will take this out, whether it's in the closet or on the top of the desk, offline backup is still a value there. And then offline backup, it could be if you're running a three. Let me think here. Well, we all understand the concept that you can have an offline backup yourself of your important stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that to you to figure out what works best for you. There were some lights down there on the bottom that kind of tells you what's going on, some drive activity and all that kind of stuff. But it's a really great solution for many kinds of issues as we grow, as time grows, as hard drive sizes grow, etc. So.
You
Yes.
mentioned underneath there's a solid state thumb drive or something?
It's a space for an SSD card, and it's back behind this. I'm imagining I can open this up safely. There it is. It shut down before inserting or removing the SSD, and it's a cache of your most recent, your most commonly used files, to allow you to instantaneously transfer them instead of reading and writing them to a hard drive, which is very slow compared to an SSD. And you can put different size SSDs in there.
What happens when that fills up?
It is a continually, constantly changing collection of what it feels you're most likely to ask for next.
Yeah.
So it fills up almost immediately. As soon as those green lights are done, it's full. Because it's put stuff on there. It may be stuff you never ever needed, but as soon as you start asking for stuff, it says, oh, he's asked for this, let's put this on there. And so if you've asked for something 10 times, you ask for something once, it may not keep that once. But as you start writing that, reading that a second time, a third time, it says, wait a second, he's asked for this so many times, I'm going to put this on my cache.
So that's volatile, like.
I'm sorry?
That's volatile, like RAM.
Yes, exactly. Well, let me take that. It's like RAM, but the battery.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, because the
Right.
batteries back it.
Right. We'll keep it continually useful. Yes, sir.
If you have a 4-bay box,
Uh-huh.
do you have to have 4
Nope.
disk drives in it?
Nope.
Okay, and then where do you buy if you want to grow, where do you buy the disks that you put in?
Fry's or Best Buy or wherever you want. They're just standard drives. The speed of the drive will make a difference. Some drives you have 4,500 RPM and 7,200 RPM. The faster drive would be better. Some will have a faster read-write cycle than others. So all that kind of stuff matters, but really doesn't matter. It'll take any drive. If you put one drive in, you're not making any use of it being a Drobo, you're just writing to it. You put in a second one, you say, and all of a sudden now you're at the very least gonna have striping speed if you want, or redundancy if you want. You put in a third, the whole world changes, and with regard to capacity and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a fan of at least 3, because as you saw the math there. But after that, I don't have a need to fill up all 5. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of an application for a family that has several members that, like children, for
Mhm.
example, each one could have their own driver for their schoolwork and all
Right,
that kind of
correct,
stuff.
right.
Is that a practical?
Very, very, very. And in fact, it's kind of nice because you can, as administrator, you can allocate, you can say, Mary, you can have this amount of space, and Jim this, because he's a hog, he'll just fill it up with crap and stuff, even though if he's got it, he'll fill it up. You know, and so you don't give him all that much space because it causes him to keep it a little bit clean and throw out his old junk that he doesn't use anymore. And, you know, and she works on bigger projects that are more valuable and that take up more space, so you can give her a larger volume again. Yes?
Does this thing run hot?
Hot?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Warm?
0. Yeah.
Is there a fan in there?
Yeah, there's a fan.
Yeah, it's cold.
So it doesn't really consume that much water.
No. It's got a metal case, so it transfers whatever heat it has easily and quickly. I've never noticed them even warm.
Okay. So it's good to put in a place where there's some degree of airflow.
Airflow is always a good thing. Yeah.
In other words, don't stick it in a closet with.
Closet will be fine.
Yeah?
Just
Yeah.
putting it in the safe would be a problem.
Putting it in a safe would be questionable.
All right.
But
What's that plug into, a USB 3?
I'm plugging this into Ethernet.
Oh,
I mean, it says down here, active interface is Ethernet right now.
oh, I see.
Just kind of informing me what's going on.
So what can you plug in? You plug in a USB 3?
The different versions will have different interfaces, and you'll buy the box that has the interfaces that you feel are important to you.
So if you get a Thunderbolt, then it's cost you a lot more.
There you go. That's right. A Thunderbolt, the one with the Thunderbolt interface costs you more than the one without. You know, based upon what, you know, if you have a computer that doesn't have Thunderbolt, it's kind of like, why would you buy it? Unless you want to buy it for the future.
Yeah.
But it used to be that the Ethernet was more expensive than the USB. Because, wow, you could put this on a network, you're going to need to pay for that. Now, the Ethernet is less expensive than the direct drive because of things like Thunderbolt. You know, a direct connection, which is the fastest, you're going to charge more for it because the interface actually does cost them a bit more than an RJ11 or RJ45 jack. So, that kind of stuff. And so those variabilities change the cost and all that kind of stuff. So, that's why I don't really, and when I buy stuff, you know, it's going to be on sale next week or whatever else. So, there you go. All right. Other questions on backing up and Drobos and RAIDs and all that kind of stuff? It's, yes.
So you can mix in there if you had an SSD drive and a spinning hard drive. It doesn't care if you put in different kinds of drives.
Absolutely not. Does not care. That's interesting because not all types of these boxes will take an SSD drive as an option.
Which ones won't, you know?
By manufacturers, there's so many out there, I really don't remember them all, and they change over time, so, but just be aware and think of that as a part of the reality. You're not typically gonna be using SSD drives in these because this is more for capacity than for speed. If you're looking for speed, you wanna keep it local to the computer. SSDs, you're gonna be paying more money and getting a smaller drive typically. That's not the typical usage of it, but Drobo is okay with that kind of thing.
Do you think the Drobo is better quality than, let's say, the Thunder Bay, the OWC stuff?
You know, when Drobo first came out, I kind of poo-pooed it because it wasn't real. But in today's world, I'm really okay with that. The quality has shown itself to be great over time. It's just it's just, I'm trying to, okay, I'm gonna shut that puppy down. Shut down that. The quality is maintained, the company's customer service has been great. It's just been all overall great all the way around. I've had no problems with it. Now, I went in here to Drobo Dashboard to do that because I could have ejected it, if you will, from my interface, but since it's on Ethernet, it's still really kind of live and all of that kind of stuff. And because I want to go ahead and turn it off and unplug it and disconnect it all, I'm going to go ahead and use that particular interface there. So now I can plug it, just plug that, and plug that, and I'm good to go. Let's see if let me see if any parts of these. I had some interesting items. Let's see if we covered them all.
How many different kinds do they have? They got 5D?
Well, you know, all the permutations, I'd say they maybe have a dozen or so. Now, if you have a network, you could have a business and enterprise. There's a 10-drive version.
It's rack now.
Rack mounts, there's all that kind of stuff. All right, it's interesting. RAID used to start it off saying a redundant array of inexpensive drives. Well, since everything is inexpensive these days, they've gone down, RAID typically is called redundant array of independent drives, which is just fine. And then there's also what we call in the industry a SLED, which is a single large expensive disk, but nothing's expensive anymore, so you don't hear SLED being used very much. I just kind of thought it was interesting that that terminology used to be there. Yes?
Question, very naive, I guess. Why couldn't you do this in principle using cloud type stuff instead of having it local? Wouldn't that?
Well, you do have it in cloud. You buy iCloud and you have a forever okay. And the point here was, in the old days, you would do this, and your whole drive would be limited to 250 because it would use the smallest one. This went and said you can use any size. In most software, virtual RAID software, if you now, even if they were all 1,000, if you now wanted to get 2 terabyte drives for your RAID, you'd have to take all that kind of stuff, back it off to somewhere else, create a new one, copy it back over again to get going with the new RAID of 2 terabyte drives. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. But more to your point there, the iCloud, when you buy iCloud, you tell them you want more, you got more. It's forever. But the problem with iCloud with cloud type services is speed. It takes a lot amount of time to move stuff through the cloud. And that's why these offline backup services expect them to maybe take a week to move your stuff there.
Okay.
And on that same case, if you're a business, you know, getting your stuff back, am I going to take a week to transfer it back down before I can get going again if we had a problem? Now they'll ship you, many of these offline services will ship you a drive, you know, FedEx, if you need all of your stuff quickly.
So it's a data transfer issue.
Data transfer speed.
Okay.
Speed is the big deal. So that's the item that is the big ticket there.
You're also dependent on the fact that your internet connection has to be.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about a service station or some commercial application.
The same thing applies for a commercial application. Your internet service has to be there. If there's a disruption to your internet service, or if there's a break in the internet anywhere that renders wherever your cloud storage is at, not there, you're out of business. Whereas with this, you're not out of business.
Got it.
Yeah, and so that's a very big deal. I have doctors' offices that are working on all of their records. At some places, all of their records are in the cloud.
Right.
So when the people come in, they're keeping records to be stored off the cloud. As soon as the internet goes down, they're dead in the water.
Yeah.
They can't operate anymore.
Right.
On the previous versions, they had, in the Panorama version that I have some of my clients working on, every computer has a complete copy of the entire database. When they make a change, it writes it off to the server. And so when a computer starts up, it says, hey server, is anything different on my computer since I've been last working? And the server says, yes, here's the latest stuff. So that person goes and does their work, you're working with the latest stuff, they make changes, it goes up to the server, all this kind of stuff. The doctor at home, he plugs in and he can get the latest version over the net. If he can't connect over the net, he can continue working because he has a copy of what was most current. He makes his work, he creates new records, he changes records. When he plugs back in, it says, oh, by the way, I've created these new records, and oh, by the way, here's some changes. The problem that comes to me is, wow, you've made that change and somebody else has made a change on that same record. Which one is it that you want is to be the latest and greatest? But, point is, cloud dependency can shut down a business if you don't have an ability to run it locally. So let's see. Oh, Steve gave me this fancy thing, but I lost it.
Oh,
Where did it go?
I told you not to lose it.
Oh, yeah. As soon as I
Find
turn
an
it back.
application.
Okay, so single drive redundancy, all of them,
Find it.
every
Doctor name on.
because it doesn't show rate, this is a weak one. Can't hurt to pilot with this puppy.
Well, I guess it's dead.
Look at that.
You used it up already.
Okay, since it doesn't, RAID 0 would not have single drive redundancy. That was the striping thing. So all of the others cover your butt for if one drive goes out. Only when you go to RAID 6 or beyond RAID, which is something like this, are you covered potentially with dual drive redundancy. Instant expansion, you can add another drive anytime you want, only with an external hardware box. Smart volumes, that's where it tells your client or it tells your person they have this much space, but it only uses up as much space as it really needs, and the rest of it, you know, it allows for other people to use. Data aware, that's where it knows exactly the kinds of files that exist and where they exist, which makes it more efficient. Automatic healing, you just slap in another drive, and let's say if I could put in another drive there as to be there, not to be used until it's needed. So as soon as one of the other drive comes out, it automatically switches over to that one drive and allows me to keep on going. So it automatic heals. Mixed drive utilization, which is what we talked about over there. Thin provisioning and self-management storage. Too technical to worry about. Yes.
A question that may be alluding back to Steve's statement. I have a NAS system at home.
Network attached storage. It's hooked up via Ethernet switch. Yeah.
And it's pretty much used for backup.
Okay.
We've got Macintosh and PC. Can the Drobo replace that box and essentially do the
Yes,
same?
because this can be accessed by a PC or by a Mac. Doesn't really care.
Control panels on each platform?
Yep. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. Very, very, very handy for all that kind of stuff. So.
I mean, I bought, years ago, Robert, I bought a NAS,
Mhm.
and the trouble is, it was one that a company didn't keep up. You know, it didn't update the
It's not
software and stuff.
Iomega, is it?
And, you know, I don't even know where it is anymore. But this company's been around for, you know, a few years now, and I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
I've been very, that one was out, okay. Okay, I wanted to go into, okay, here's that RAID 10 where here's the striping. If you just had these two, you'd be striped. Because if you just had these two, you'd be striped. Because with right here and also right here. When you're striping and you're mirroring here. you're striping here. One file, one half of the file is here, one half of the file here. In array 10, you're taking each of these two that are getting half and you're backing up each of them. So here's where you have 4 drives, and you can have 2 go out as long as they're not the same 2 on the same one. Really a very inefficient method, yes.
Any software update, does it reside in your computer or does it reside in the Drobo unit?
Well, there's 2 different types of, there's the firmware which resides in the box
Uh-huh.
that allows it to be smarter about how it does things, which allows it to interface more intelligently or more efficiently with the newer version of the operating system. And then you have the software that runs on your computer that allows you to control it.
Okay.
So when you upgrade your computer, your software might benefit from a newer version of their software, which may have new features or such. But typically, what you're going to lose at best is the ability to install software, newer software on the noise.
Any hardware in the unit that's so bad, like power supply?
Well, power supply is right here.
Oh, okay, all right. So then really, that box should almost last forever.
And this probably is a generic.
Yeah. There's no magic in that. There's no magic in that. I'm really, see, this is all the different drivers that are installed when you install the, oh, excuse me, this is on LaCie. And LaCie is not nearly as pretty, but they have an awful lot of drivers that they install in their stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's something to consider. It becomes more and more valuable as time goes on, and it becomes more and more more and more important as time goes on because your data is up there. It lasts for a long time, and it continues. It's one of those things that, you know, being able to put new drives on there and all that kind of stuff is allows the thing to grow with you in a big way. So it's something to think about. All right. Let's see. Now the most tricky part, actually, which I think I figured out. Just try it like that. There we go.
Yeah, is
No, that's an FS or whatever.
Pardon me?
That model there is a
5 in.
5N.
5 in, yeah.
5 bay.
And I have found it to probably be the best the best answer for most people because it allows you most people with the size of drives that are available today, whatever they are. 2 to 3 usually meets most people's needs. Of the largest capacity, 2 to 3 meets most people's needs, which then allows you room for growth in the future, and room for a backup, and an interface that is worthy, you know, is worthy of decent speeds, and so there you go. Anyways, pretty simple, pretty nice, pretty easy. It isn't free, but it's the safety of knowing that when your hard drive fails, that your stuff that you can't buy is still good. It's good. By the way, when you're carrying stuff that's of value, what I've learned is keep it low to the ground. So when the bag breaks,
Yeah.
it's less likely to do damage.
Yeah. Or you get the padded cases.
Or you get the bad cases.
Put a pill in there.
All right, guys, very good. Have a good day.
Yeah.
We'll run that through the computer.
Run what?
What we talked about.
Well, I've recorded it out, so we can.
Oh, you recorded, okay, we got it.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, this was something that my son showed me. He has, being an unemployed video editor, he has all the time in the world, he thinks, to sit around and see what's new and what's hot. And And so I leave the software stuff to him, and we were at a customer's house yesterday in Laguna, and she was having problems, and she says, well, I want to get a newer Mac because I keep getting all these viruses and this and that, and we're kind of looking at her, So the only thing I know of, Apple's fixed most of them or patched most of them out, but this program that he showed me, and I downloaded, it's called Easy Find, and it's from, you can get it for free from the App Store. Anything that's free that does something good, I would say to all of you, go to the App Store, download the product, get it, it's called Get now. Instead of free, it's called Get. And then what you can do is you've got a bar over here, a search bar, and you put in the word MacKeeper. And so now you can look and say, okay, here's MacKeeper. And it tells me that the only MacKeeper I have in this whole, and it's got 3 hard drives in here, is on my main hard drive, which was my older one with 10.6. On that hard drive, it's in the user folder, in this my user folder, I mean, and library, caches, metadata, Safari, history, and then there. If you want to really get rid of things. Now, we ran into a problem yesterday when we were doing hers, that MacKeeper also stores things in your library. They're called ZeoBit, or ZeoBit, I think it is. And so we did a search for that, and there was quite a few of those still left around. Now, if you were to go to Google, and I do this often when I'm at someone's house, there have been so many different answers on the internet about how to get rid of these. You know, you see that it comes up and it says, okay, I got a problem here, how do I get rid of it? And you go to the Google and you can read articles. There's like say for instance, if it's in Apple Communities, you'll have a whole list of different articles. Plus then when you go to the site, it has even more articles that you can reference. So there's one of them that I had used before that I wanted to find, and basically it takes you through and it says, check this folder, check this folder, check this folder, all that. Well, if you know the words that you're looking for, if you had this Easy Find, you could take any one of those and start going through and trashing them, erase it, empty trash, and restart and check it again. And if it's gone, if it doesn't show up, it's gone. So that's one good way to do that. Now, I don't have a ton of stuff planned for the rest of this. I wanted to make sure that everybody is totally clear. If you're on the internet and you get and I was looking for the file. I was at a lady's house and she showed me, she got this message up on the screen and she didn't want to do anything till I looked at it. What happens is, when usually it's in Safari or any of your browsers, but it'll pop up and it'll say, we have noticed you're looking at porn and all this stuff, all that, like that. It says, call this number immediately. And there's another one that pops up and freezes up your Safari and won't let you quit, won't let you do anything. Everything you try seems to not work. One thing to always remember is Command, Option, Escape.
Yeah.
They haven't blocked that. You can always do that and force quit it. Okay, yeah, force quit it. There have been ones that come up and they say, with a voice, and it says, oh, we found that you have this virus or that virus or whatever, call us. Well, as most of you know, it's all a scam. And basically, I've had so many people that, because I do Leisure World quite a bit, or Laguna Woods Village as they call it, where they're already called and gave them the credit card number, stuff like that. So they want your money. It's a scam, and unfortunately, you know, it's always, for every new thing, I was just waiting to see, you know, come Christmas time, oh man, their scammers are out. You know, they're out there just thinking of all sorts of,
Especially with the email. I mean, the fake
Oh.
emails from Amazon, you know, don't
Yeah.
open it.
just, and the old deal, as we've told you before, is hover over something.
Yes.
You get an email, go down here to mail.
Or you could, if you're gonna click on the sender's name, or you can show it,
Well,
but even then.
but even then,
Yeah.
let's see here. Okay, now this one, I know that I subscribe to, but if, say, for instance, it said, click on this, and it actually gives you a link with a blue underline and everything, don't believe it, and wait and just hover over it, and in a couple of seconds, it pops up. Usually, the name that's on, that you see printed on there is not where it's gonna take you. So, and if it says, you know, like, hey, click this to update, or click this to do that, and you just, let's see, I'm trying to find here. Oh, this is another one. Now this one, I truly did have something to send, but a lot of places will come and you'll get a deal. We have a package for you from UPS or FedEx or whatever. And make sure you put your quarter in there.
I did.
That doesn't belong to us.
I know him.
Oh yeah, so do I. Anyway, you gotta really be on the lookout for problems or people that are trying to get your information. Yes,
I haven't recently, but there's a period of time I was getting numerous phone calls about, we have discovered a problem with your Windows program. Bye.
yeah, well, I've taken now to, any area code that's not, you know, a lot of people have the service, which I think should be free. They charge an arm and a leg for, I think they charge us $7 or something a month to get caller ID. Two things happened with caller ID. One, it said, one that came in yesterday said Anaheim, and the area code was 262 or something like that. Well, I know Anaheim is not 262.
Yeah.
So basically, I didn't answer it, but then I go Google the number, and there's now, it's become a horde of these places that you can read up and see what other people have said that place is. But I just don't even answer. You know, if they're important enough, they'll leave a message. And on my business line, for instance, if you ever call and you don't get me on my 859 number, it's because I have a answering machine set up, because I get so damn many calls from this company wanting to sell that or that company. And unfortunately, the the do not call list doesn't work for businesses, business numbers. And to get in the yellow pages many, many years ago, I had to buy a business line, which they charge different. They charge more, they charge you by call and stuff like that. So, you just gotta be careful.
Steve,
And-
I installed a software that's called No Robocalls.
No what?
No Robocalls.
No.
No robocalls?
Right, there's a program out there that you can install with most telephone companies, and it kills all these robocalls that you get. 99% of these telemarketing is robocalls.
Oh, yeah.
And so you see that peace and relief when you don't hear all those calls, because it rings only once, and that's it.
Okay.
No more, no robocalls.
No robocalls. I'm going to look into that because no. Oh, that's, you know, this autocorrect on the iPhone is just a killer.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, forget it. It's not gonna cooperate. But let's go just for the fun of it, let's go to Safari. And it really drives me nuts, you know, this whole deal of upgrading and operating systems and upgrading software and stuff. And I have times where I take and I'm on Safari and I go to a website that says, well, your version of Safari is obsolete, you know, go get a new one or something like that. And at home, I'm using 10.6. And I say, there's not much I can do about it. And so then you go to Firefox, and then you go to Chrome, and then you know, give up. Okay, no robo. Calls. Okay, now, there's Comcast has an app. No robocalls to my cell phone. Let's just go to no robocalls. How to block robocalls, end robocalls for good. And don't believe it when they say it. Look into it, which I'm gonna do. Because those robocalls just drive me crazy. Because if I had, you know, I thought, well, gee, maybe I'll just forward them all to here, to my cell phone. And I thought, well, if I forward them to my cell phone, it's gonna have my phone number on it. So I'll never know who's
Right.
calling, so
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. So, anyway, let me see what else we've got. Somebody's got a question?
I got something to add.
Okay.
I
So,
was a firefighter for LA County, and one of the most irritating calls I get is, we want you to contribute to a fund for
oh, yeah,
sheriffs, police, firemen,
yes,
widows and orphans,
Oh,
et cetera, et
God,
cetera.
yes.
Don't ever believe any of them. Any of
Yeah.
them.
They
In
come
fact, cuss them out,
truckload.
hang up. They're,
but they get it.
oh yeah,
They'll follow,
well, they make money off of that, lots of it, but it's criminal.
yeah,
Because people are afraid if they hang up, the next time they have a problem, they won't show up.
Yeah, I used to contribute to that fireman collection that they had. And what they used to do, they used to come to your door. When you said, yeah, okay, I'll donate something, and they would collect that check personally. They would call every day, say, oh, you're gonna donate, so we'll stop by to get that
Oh,
check.
yeah.
I remember that.
Have a police car out front.
What's that?
Have a police car sitting out front. when they go.
Yeah, yeah.
I had one company call me one time, this was so funny. They were gonna give me $1 million and a brand new Cadillac. And they were gonna deliver the $1 million with this brand new Cadillac, I just contributed some money to them.
Oh, yeah.
it's amazing. It's just amazing what these people will do. And you've gotta be one up on them, you know, be smarter than them.
How many of you have been told you just won cruise to the Caribbean?
Oh,
It's a 2-day cruise. Of course, they'll sell you more if you want, because who wants a 2-day cruise to the Caribbean? You get there and you go back.
Yeah, that's right. You don't even get there.
Well, and it
You turn
doesn't
around
start
halfway,
from here, you
back
gotta
home.
get to Florida before you can go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing in the emails too, and, my brain's blanking here. Anyway, someone in the club got a deal where they said, okay, well, she's, sending an email from Europe or something like that. And I'm in England and my purse was stolen and my passport and all this stuff and I need some money.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, it's somehow somebody's gotten into your contact list and they will take and say, you know, can you send me this? And we got all panicked for her because we all knew her. She was a member of the club and still is. And people actually called the sheriff and said, would you go out and check her house? Because people believed it. So you just gotta be, you know, aware on top of things.
Here's one of the most beautiful ones, I think. A young man calls you and says, "Hi, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm really sorry, but I'm in trouble here. I need some money to get out of jail or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't my fault. This is not original with me. Someone said, they tell him, oh, yeah, you're always asking us for money. You're always in trouble. You're still on the drugs? You really make up the story about it. I never have liked you. I hope you stay there for a long time in jail and realize how many mistakes you made."
And there are people that write up little things to say to these callers, you know. It's really funny, really, very funny. Yes?
I have a question about my new iMac.
Okay.
And this is how it developed for me. At the same time as I bought my iMac, I bought the Super Drive. The Apple.
Oh, the optical drive?
Opticals,
Right.
external drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got everything plugged in, I noticed I didn't have any spaces left. So I used a powered USB hub
Mm-hmm.
to put in the optical drive, and guess what? It would not work.
Really?
So, in checking around, I found out that that drive takes so much USB
Wattage.
energy,
Yeah.
wattage, that the typical, even powered hubs don't have enough, so it needs to be plugged directly into the back of the computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, here's the deal. I've got all my USB ports, USB 3 ports, allocated to something. But I only have one of my Thunderbolt ports allocated to something. I would like to use that remaining empty Thunderbolt port to create some USB ports.
If I'm not mistaken,
So my question is how to do that.
Okay, I have an answer.
what's that?
I had the exact same problem with a super drive, and what you can do is you can get a Thunderbolt dock or Thunderbolt hub, and connect that to your computer's. Oh, I see what you're saying. I was going to say connect that to your computer's Thunderbolt port,
Well,
and then you'll have USB ports. But yeah, with that Apple Super Drive, yeah, I gave up. I had the exact same problem. Always needed power, no matter where, except directly to the computer. The other day, I finally broke down and went out and got an external CD-ROM drive writer.
well, I'll tell
I
you
paid
something,
for
what I've done is I would get computers in where the customer didn't have an optical drive, be one of the new Mac Minis or something like that. And what I finally did was I went over to Micro Center. It was really great. What happened was, I'm just looking here for cables and stuff. The storage, give me 1 second. Looking for, there should be, oh, here, power and cables. It's I tell you, getting old's a bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, while you're looking, I even tried a USB extension cable.
Uh-huh.
I put that onto the super drive, then plugged that directly in your computer. Didn't work.
Okay,
Wow.
what happens is Apple does make quite a few adapters. The only one I have found to be a reasonable price is the little adapter that goes from one of these for the MacBook Air, and it's a thin one. It's a thinner connector, and I needed to. I don't have the thinner connector power adapter for a customer, so what I did was I went to Apple Store, $9.95. But these ones where they charge you like this Lightning to SD card, $29, $29. That's, here it is, $9.99 MagSafe. Now there should be an adapter that goes from let's see here, Lightning, Thunderbolt to Gigabit Ethernet adapter. Some of those new computers don't have an Ethernet port. They don't even have the latest one, which I think is totally ridiculous, because you'd have to have an adapter for everything. But if you have a Thunderbolt, you can take, and rather than using the Wi-Fi, you can do that. And they've got Lightning to 30-pin adapters, Thunderbolt to FireWire, and quite a few of these things I've had to buy because somebody comes in with a Thunderbolt, and I have to be able to get adapted to it.
Yeah.
And let's see, DVI, and it says 11 pages. Whoa. But you could also take and do my usual thing, which is go to Google, and let's see, you had a Thunderbolt hub, or let's do that, and then let's go to USB.
Yeah. It won't do it.
What do you mean?
Well, oh yeah. Never mind.
Here, Belkin, Thunderbolt dock, and that's it. Best Buy. But the main thing is you want to be, get a name brand thing. Like Micro Center sells some $14.99 things that Apple sells for $29. USB hub, Ethernet.
I don't know if.
But now what I was starting to say, and I remember now, was I went over to Micro Center and I bought, it's made by LG, and it's an external DVD reader, and $24.99. And it works super. So, you might want to look into that. The other thing is if it's apples that you bought, you just buzz over to the Apple store over here in Southwest Plaza after the meeting, and just ask them straight out, I bought this from Apple and this from Apple, but neither of, I can't make it work on my Mac Mini because, it's drawing too much power, it says. Just wish I could lay my hands on this adapter.
Which one are you looking for?
Pardon me?
Which one are you looking for?
The, see, he had a Thunderbolt, he needs to plug it in, no, he needed a Thunderbolt to USB. So a Thunderbolt female to a USB. No, Thunderbolt male, excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's compatible.
I don't know. So,
It'll work through a dock but not.
yeah.
But you
And they
need
have
the
these,
socket.
that was one thing, by the way. I bought this deal at Marshall's and all these Marshalls or TJ Maxx or something. They're a stand about this high, and it's got 4 USB ports in it, but no USB going from the adapter to the computer. It's not to act like a hub, it's to act like a charger. So if you want to charge something, like say your phone and your iPad, all at once, you can do it with that. And they're like, what was it I paid? Either 9 or 19, I'm not sure which. I buy too much stuff there. So anyway, what are we at? 10:51.
I had a question on another
Sure.
subject when you're ready.
Yeah.
My son passed away suddenly a few months back and left me with 2 iMacs. And I presume the market resale on those is pretty negative.
Unfortunately, if you can get me the serial numbers, I'll look them up and see what, which model they are.
One of them has a camera and one of them doesn't. They're somewhere between,
So
I
it
would
might
say
be,
6 to 10 years old.
yeah.
Something like that.
You got my email address, just use steve@oacc.org.
Okay.
And when you get home, send me the things, and by the time I get home, I'll look them up for you real quick.
The other problem I have is that I don't have a password. We wanted to see if there's anything
Yeah.
private on them.
Yeah,
And,
I can help you with that too.
okay,
Where do you live?
Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa, okay. I'm down in Aliso Viejo.
Yeah,
And-
I'll send you an email.
Yeah, do, because I've helped a lot, unfortunately, I've had quite a few people, especially at Laguna Woods,
Oh, yeah.
that have their kids that have suddenly passed away, and they need to get into the data. They need to get into their kid's address. I call him kids, but he's an adult, I'm sure.
Right.
To their contact list to let his friends know that he's passed away.
Right.
And so, there's a way to get into those.
What is your email?
Just use steve@oacc.org.
Okay.
My regular one is appledoctor@cox.net.
Is that on the outside? Will that be stamped on the outside of the machine?
On those, look on the bottom of the leg. They look like this, except white, right?
On the underside?
Yeah, the
Okay.
underside of the leg,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
I tried to find model numbers, I couldn't find it.
Oh, it's all there on that one little label, but it's so blasted small.
What's in between those pads underneath the screen?
Basically what happens is, and it's really crazy, Apple has done some things with their designs that just drive me crazy. When somebody calls and I try and walk them through where it is, it's right in here,
Yeah.
but they've got gray on silver.
Oh.
How are you gonna see that? So
Yeah.
make sure a flashlight, and it's near this barcode, serial number C17F,
Oh, wow.
and then then they've got an EMC number, and there's a model number somewhere in there too. A1131, or 1311. Do you see where I got that wrong? It's on the bottom of the leg. Right here.
Ah, yes, okay.
Now, that would be for his situation where he's got no access, he can't boot it up or anything like that. If you have access to it, you can take and just go to About This Mac, and now that if you have a later software like Yosemite or something, it will take and come up and it'll tell you what the serial number is.
Oh, yeah.
If it's an earlier version like yours, what would happen is if you can get it booted up, you go to the Apple menu, I call it the Apple menu.
I can't do that.
Yeah, because you can't get in.
Yeah.
But for everybody else, the easiest way is go to About This Mac, and then when you says OSX version something, click on version twice, and that way it comes up with the serial number.
You know, I just found.
Thank you.
I just found on Amazon there is a Thunderbolt to eSATA and USB 3 adapter by Canex, K-A-N-E-X.
That's,
And it gets some really,
I think that's a Best Buy.
okay, well, it's about $70, but it
How
gets
much?
70.
Jeez.
I know.
Cheaper than most of them.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it gets great reviews, and somebody here said they have a Mac Mini, and it's working fine, so.
Well, that's great, but rather than $70, I'd rather go take the drive that he bought back to Apple and say, I can't make it work, and get a refund and go over to Micro Center.
Right.
LG's a good company. So,
That's an option, I was just trying to make it all work.
yeah, yeah, but, you know, why struggle?
Right.
Now, I can, when I go home, if you send me an email, what I can do is I can try and plug that in. Let's see. Couldn't duplicate that on yours. I was gonna say, because, it's a Mac Mini. I've got some Mac Minis around.
It's not a mini, it's iMac.
Oh, an
Brand new
iMac.
iMac.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but I've got a few of those around too, so. God, if you saw how much I've got, my wife's just like,
Join the club.
oh, no. I had all my Apple II stuff back in 2010. My wife and my kids caught me on a downside, and they said, you sit there and we'll bring you these things, and you see if you really need it, you know, give me a good reason why you need it. And I had brand new Apple IIc motherboards, you know, that I used years ago, and it's like, oh, I paid for them, I don't remember how much, and they're worthless. They're just worthless. So, okay, but usually your cities will have a e-waste time every year or every couple of months. Yeah.
There's one in Huntington Beach, Nichols, on Nichols Street, that they'll accept all the e-waste
Oh,
there.
that, yeah.
They're closed on Mondays, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a county operated operation. You can,
It's that rainbow stuff.
yeah.
Oh, Rainbow.
That's it.
Yeah, Rainbow.
That's where they
All
are.
household waste, including gasoline.
Yeah, really? I remember I fixed their Apple II. They had an Apple II years ago, and the trucks would drive in, and there was a program that they had that would weigh the trucks on an Apple II.
Oh, gosh.
So it's really crazy where we've come.
Steve, I just wanted to ask you, has anybody bought a new, big iPad? Super iPad, I guess?
Nobody that I've heard.
Oh, yeah, Pad Pro, whatever that is.
Yeah.
With a pen? Nobody over here?
Not gonna go there. It's
Oh,
like,
okay.
it's like when I volunteer over at Laguna Woods on Mondays, there's three of us, lady and me and another guy, and he came in and he says, look, I got a Apple Watch. I says, well, that was a lot of money. He said, no, I got it. They had $50 off at Best Buy, and so he got the cheapest one. And it's like, I've really thought about that long and hard, because I wanted the one that had the real nice braided stainless steel band and everything, and it's like $700 or $800. And I just said,
No.
I've got all the features in the phone. I'm gonna really be like Dick Tracy kind of thing. I said, forget it. And I've had everything that Apple's ever made, but I just said, that's it. Yeah.
I think of those Apple Watches, I hope I'm wrong, but it looks like an invitation to be robbed.
That's one of the things.
If you're in the
Yeah.
wrong place at the right time, somebody's gonna mug
See,
you for it.
Yeah. Yeah. They do this. Yeah, like I hear them over there saying same thing with Rolexes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got, half a dozen of them in my drawer at home, and I just never wear them because I'm
Yeah.
afraid of getting robbed.
And I had a cousin of mine give me one of those fake ones, and it's
What's
like,
your address?
what was that?
6 of them at once, and you don't need a gun.
Yeah. Here,
Different topic. I have two things that pop up every day or two. And by the way, it's a Mac Mini, and it's on the latest version. I upgraded the RAM, so it works fine, except that. No matter what I try to do, it'll pop out, especially when you're just opening up.
just starting booting up?
Actually, we start from sleep most of the time. And it'll say, you're not connected to the internet. So I go into preferences and I unlocked it just to make sure, a couple of times I unlocked it, put the Wi-Fi at the top of the list, Ethernet and bolt down to the bottom, okay, and make sure it's on, and then I wait until it says my network is available, click on that, I lock it, still happens.
May have something to do with the restarting, I mean, not restarting, but starting up the hard drive. You know, that it needs some software that it's waiting for. That's the only thing I can think of. How far are you away from your Wi-Fi?
10 feet.
Oh, 10 feet. Because see, my biggest problem is I use my modem's upstairs in our joint office, which she usually kicks me out of when she's thinking about creating. And then my workroom is down the other side of the house in the garage area. And it's like, why in the hell can't, I mean, I've got the latest tower airport, and I'm always, especially when you're using the phone, the iPhone, if you have 2 bars, forget it. You will not get anywhere. Have to have 3 solid bars to get anything on that. And so then you've got to go to extenders and stuff. And that gets to be a pain. So,
The other thing you might do is hardwire.
yeah, I could do that. I have
Him for his problem.
yeah, try it.
I have a MacBook Pro, and I'm in the same situation you are, and I've noticed since El Capitan, occasionally I'll get in a big hurry, and my MacBook Pro has an SSD, so it starts pretty fast, and occasionally the screen will come up and I can hit Safari and Google's my home page, and I can type something in and I'll get the same message you're talking about. I'm not connected to the internet. And I always get, well, at first I always got pissed off, and I immediately go to the settings and put the settings in, and it would connect, and I'd go on my happy way. And I think what happened is sometimes you can get there faster then the connection gets established and verified, and you get that message. And so if you go get a cup of coffee after you turn it on, before you try to search or do something on the internet, you'll be connected when you come back.
Or just refresh the page.
Yeah.
By that time, it'll have been connected.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is what he's saying is take and go up to the,
Yeah, I know what he means.
up there, where it says bestbuy.com, and the little circle arrow, click that and it'll reload the page. The thing is, I've run into with people will be sitting there and their computer will start up, and then one little icon will come on and this will come on and stuff. And it's basically setting itself up for the day's work. And so what'll happen, you'll start up the computer and your whole menu bar starts off with those there, and then these other icons up at the top come on one at a time or two at a time, because it's loading the software it needs to put that up there. So, there's all sorts of crazy things, but just think, they're a lot faster and a lot more than we can do. See, I come back from the days when we had, what was it, 64K of RAM in an Apple II. I mean, talk about back in the dark ages. So, we should be happy for what we got.
I have a question about Mac Mini. What's the best way to get a DVD connected to that?
Just what I said before.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Okay. Micro Center has for $24.99 a LG DVD player burner for USB. And that's, I bought a couple. I had my daughter bought one of those new, you know, she wouldn't take one of the computers I have at home for college. So she decided she'd go over to Apple and get their credit, you know, no interest for a year. And so what happens is, well, Dad, how do I play my DVDs? Well, I said, you wouldn't take what I gave you, so anyway, I had to go send her a deal I bought over at Micro Center, one of the LGs. Works fine, perfect. So,
It's a burner and a,
it's a reader burner,
what's the trade name, LG?
LG.
Okay, Korean.
She could use her credit card again and buy a super drive.
Well, we gave her until the holidays, and we said, we haven't found a full-time job that pays well, and, you know, there's no more free rides. So you're coming home, because we're not paying for an apartment, we paid for apartments all through college. No more, so she's coming home. My wife's flying up there and bring her home on the 13th. And she'll be where I can help her out. Her brother will help her out a lot, that really. We even thought about, well, gee, why don't we get an apartment or a condo with 2 master bedrooms? They get along fine, because they're 9 years apart. Anyway, yeah.
So I had one thing that pops up, and that is,
That's 2 things that popped up now.
well, this is the second.
I know.
And that is your iTunes music time that has expired. I wasn't on it, so we just click it off, and then
But
next
then
day
it comes
back
up later?
again.
Does it come up later again?
It comes up. It may come up later in that day, or it comes up again the next day. And this has been going on ever since we upgraded to El Capitan.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. I mean, I put it off as long as I could, and the only computer that I can put anything higher than 10.6 is my MacBook Pro. So I went and bought a solid state hard drive for that. And it was really funny. I went to someone's house, and I'm trying to put a CD in to test something or boot it, and it tick, 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 it won't go in. It's like, what the hell? I must have got something stuck. Then I realized, guess where I put the SSD? They make little modules with all the right connectors and the shape of this Apple's CD player or DVD player, and you take out the original and you put this in and you plug it in place of the optical drive, and it runs like a regular drive. So basically now I've got a 1 terabyte drive, 2-inch, and a 2-inch SSD, and I do the SSD just for Yosemite, and I'm not planning to go to El Capitan. I just hear all these people with problems.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you just use what you need. Anytime you start upgrading early or something like that, you're just asking for trouble.
What is it when you delete the P Is it the PRAM or something?
P-list?
Did you reset the, zap the param it's called?
Yeah.
That just clears out a few little settings and stuff like that. Used to be very, very handy, but it does, Apple has taken a lot of things away from us. Like, for instance, you can't, what was it called? Something about, not the cache, but you would, update your,
Oh, repair permissions.
repair permissions, thanks, Dan.
Can't-
You can't do it anymore. So, things change, and the thing that
I
aggravates the
wonder
hell out
why
of
they
me
took that
is,
away though.
huh?
I wonder why they took that away.
They just figured we didn't need it.
I
Okay.
believe the explanation is that the permissions get repaired automatically when certain things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as a consequence, it's of no value to have the,
Yeah,
the manual
You know,
functionality to do it.
I really, I'm an Apple guy from way, way back, and I, have had, like I said, I have had everything they've ever made. But the thing is that there's one thing that drives me nuts is they want to control the whole experience. And for me, that's frustrating. I've got seniors over at Laguna Woods that have trouble with their eyes. And what do? They took the things on the phone and they made them thinner characters and they made them gray.
You know what?
Why don't you leave us to make the decision? What color text do you want?
Yeah.
How thick do you want it? And you can do some of that, but not all of it.
Yeah, how many old programmers have you seen?
God. Yeah, we're a
There
dying.
there may be old people that can program, but there aren't any old programmers working for Apple.
Oh, no. Well, it's very funny too, because I have somebody that asked me to check with you guys. Anybody live in Costa Mesa?
They're there.
Oh, you live near there? Remember Will Baden? Yeah. Well, Will Baden was one of our second, Robert was the first person to run the Mac group, and then Will Baden came along, and he was a programmer who programmed some stuff for Apple over the years. And he's got, now that he can't drive, and he has eye problems and stuff, but he wants to, he says he'll pay somebody $10 per meeting if they will pick him up in Costa Mesa, bring him to the meeting, and drop him back. So I can get his address for you,
I
but
can do that.
hmm,
I can do that if,
I'll
I won't be able to make all the meetings, but when I can,
Yeah.
I can give him a call.
yeah, because I mean that's what happened with Corky. He lost his ability to drive, and
Where's he live?
he lives in
Costa Mesa too, I think.
Santa Ana, or Costa Mesa. It's up there past South Coast Plaza.
Yeah, around the area, yeah.
Yeah, and he's been, Greg's been doing that for him for quite a while, and he basically gives them whatever they can take to the recycling place. He's there, it's like, come on. I said, the guy comes to your house, picks you up, brings you to the meeting every time.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, has anybody had any experience with the new Office, Microsoft Office for the Mac 2016?
anybody? Hands raised?
I have it,
You have it?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
What's the question?
no, I just wanted to know, I was gonna go ahead and buy it this past week, and I've read the reviews, and apparently it has a lot of bugs, I just wanted to check and see.
I don't know what bug you might be talking about.
See, the trouble is with Microsoft Office, you take Word, and the Word, they keep expanding the functions. And it's like, we only use this much, those of us that use Word. The bug may be way out here, but we don't go out there to use that feature. So,
Well,
it's
I use Excel with the.
Yeah.
so
Me
that's
too.
the-
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but numbers, you used Excel for a long time, and I decided, okay, I wasn't gonna buy it this time, I was gonna use numbers.
Yeah,
Trying to figure numbers out in the context of old Excel spreadsheets and what I know about Excel was a nightmare. And so I just, yeah,
You
enough of this, I'm
couldn't
gonna,
import,
the spacing was never right,
oh,
and it's half the time, it just, and you can't send it to it, you can't send a, number spreadsheet to somebody who only has Excel.
That's
right,
That doesn't
but the
work.
thing
So
is
for me, it
also
didn't make any sense, I went out and bought the
Yeah.
package with 3 in
2016.
it,
Right.
or 4, I guess, because Outlook is in it now.
Yeah, correct.
When you're
Except
using
for
numbers,
Word,
I use them fine.
yeah,
When you're using
No problem
numbers,
with
Wait, wait, wait.
okay, okay.
Okay, he has an
Very
answer.
well.
I do this all the time with numbers, and people send me Excel spreadsheets. I open it in numbers, work on it,
And
and
say,
I move the columns down to where I can, or get them all on the screen, and then there's a choice up in,
File export to
pull-down
show.
menu.
yeah, file,
and it says
Save
send
as.
as Excel.
Oh.
So it translates
Yeah.
everything I've done and sends it to somebody that only has Windows and Excel.
yeah.
And they see it just like I did it.
Well, the thing is that we did that for years. My wife was writing training programs for Royal Caribbean, and this was back when Royal Caribbean was using Office 98 or something like that. I mean, here's this big cruise company, and they're still using Office 98. And so she'd write because it was all words, it was not spreadsheets or anything like that. And she would have to, I had to go out and buy a $700 Windows notebook so that I could take and check to make sure that what we had would work when they got it. And for a time, there was an app that we had, or it was actually a program at that time, where you could take and put something in and convert it to something else. So like, if it was Word for Office 2000, whatever, it would say, okay, convert this to Office 98. And what happened was we do the conversion, and that was all done on the Mac. And then I take the file, plug it into the PC, and make sure that it opened properly, because there's nothing you hate worse than doing all this work and having someone say, I can't read it, I can't open it, you know. So that's why we did that.
So,
Now, they're not the same as the 216, Office 216 for Mac. There are some changes in the way that it looks, and some functionality changes too.
Right.
But once you figure those out, it works the same.
okay.
The only problem I've had so far was, in order to buy the darn thing, you have to establish a Microsoft account. Okay, so I made a Microsoft account, and everybody was happy until I went to use it. Okay, and then it said, every time I put in my password and all that, that it accepted my, what is it, they ask for your email address?
Yeah, and your key, yeah.
And your, okay, so, it never would accept it. And then it said, that email address is already being used. Well, yeah, it is, I already made the account.
Yeah.
So the only way I could get the purchase completed and registered and all that was to use a different email address, go through it all again, and a different email address and a different password.
Well,
And
that's
it
what
took that one,
happens.
So I don't know what the hell.
Yeah,
that was
usually
about.
what happens is if you're trying to sign on with a password, I found that many times, if you get stuck a couple of times, what you want to do is, down below where the password is, I forgot my password. And it takes you through a vetting
Yeah.
process of
Yeah,
making sure you're you and all that
that's another
jazz.
story.
And then it'll open up a window that'll allow you to change your password, then it works.
Yeah, well, that didn't work.
Because if you keep trying and trying and trying, it
They
might
shut you
lock
down.
you out for a day or
I'll,
two.
I'll
do.
tell you
They
something,
do.
my wife was trying to get in to find out when she, if she, starts taking Social Security at 62 or 66 or 70, what the different things would be that they estimate. Because I keep telling her, we don't know how long we're gonna live. We may live to 85, but the thing is what if, something comes up and we need that money now. Like when my business went slowly down, after the Apple stores came out, I grabbed it right away. And I figured that over the 4 years that I will have taken it, that it's $60,000 I would have gotten over those 4 years. If I waited, okay, I'd get a little bit more, but I wouldn't have the $60,000. So, and I needed to pay mortgage and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Well, everybody looks like they're ready to go to sleep.
Okay. So,
I'm not as good as Greg. He can fill up showing you, what do you call it, Jimmy Fallon and.
you said December